And welcome back to KTN News Desk. I'm Michael Karanja. Now, many times when you go to a bank or any other financial institution to get credit, sometimes you're not too sure what goes into pricing the kind of interest that you are charged. But to help us break this down in terms of credit information and all that goes into pricing some of these things, I'm now joined by Jared Getenga, who's the CEO of the Association of Kenya Credit Providers. Now, Jared, just to start us off, credit information sharing has been there for the last, 4 or 5 years in terms of the rationale of how it should work. But has it been affected by the people who are playing ball? Have the banks played their part in terms of using credit information to price credit for customers?
Thank you for that question. Banks started sharing non-performing loans several years ago, and only transitioned into sharing positive information in February this year. It was not possible for them to use credit information sharing to price loans earlier because it's only possible when they share positive information. And so we'd like to commend the banks for working with the central bank to start this positive information sharing regime, because then it is when they accumulate positive information that they are able to distinguish what kind of risk that they are facing when they are pricing the facility that they are being asked to give. And so the central bank, working with the Kenya Bankers Association, has accumulated now several months of positive information. The central bank is also working with the bankers to find a way of publishing the way in which the banks are giving scores to their customers. And so we are looking forward to the next few months. In the course of 2015, we'll definitely see banks being able to use positive information in the pricing of risk.
Credit information is just not for the banks, it's also for individuals. But I'm guessing that uptake is not, like personally, I've never gone out asking for my credit report, but how is that interaction between banks and also the customers going out, having valid information where the credit score is and trying to improve that?
Yes, there are two people who should be sourcing the credit reports. They should be the lender and also the borrower. And so there is need now for us to be able to sensitize borrowers to check their credit reports. This credit report is given free once a year, and it's also given free whenever a lender has made a decision that is adverse upon you because of the data that is in the bureau. One of the reasons it hasn't been popular is because it's been about negative information.
Exactly.
Not too many people were enthusiastic to go to the credit bureau to just confirm what is negative about them. But now we are starting a communication campaign, and we hope that many Kenyans will be able to see their credit reports, help us to ascertain the accuracy of that information. In fact, next week we are starting a campaign that where there is inaccurate information in the bureau, there is now a mechanism outside the court system to enable us to dispute that information and have it corrected. With those kind of initiatives from our end, the uptake of credit reports from consumers is going to go up.
And who are some of the people you're targeting in terms of information that goes into someone's credit score? Is it just banks, or are you also looking at utility companies, supermarkets, anywhere where if I take anything on credit and I don't pay over a certain period, those are the kind of people you're looking for?
Yes, it's going to be gradual. Because you cannot bite more than you can chew.
Exactly.
It takes a lot of system enhancement for credit providers to submit information and use it. So we have had to go in a gradual way, but it is necessary for us to go broad. And so we started with the banks and the microfinance banks, the ones who are regulated by the central bank. The C.E.O Society's Regulatory Authority is also supporting us now, working with CUSCO, that's the union for C.E.Os, to get as many C.E.Os as possible into the mechanism. So our third category would be the C.E.Os, but simultaneously we are also engaging with those microfinance institutions that are not regulated. They also are very keen to participate because where people have paid loans among the credit-only MFIs, that information should be in the bureau so that they can benefit. So we are moving gradually. We will go to the utilities in due course, but we don't want to rush into this. We want to go gradually.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems has been that once you get a negative, let's say, credit score, getting out of that band of a bad creditor is one of those things people are having a challenge with, because once you're in that bracket, it takes so long before, even if you improve everything underlying, it takes so long before banks look at you favorably. How are you trying as an association to bridge that gap between banks should be able to use the information that they have currently and not use historical data to work against you when you're coming to a bank for credit?
Yeah. Thanks. That's a good question, because if we don't solve that, then I think we are making it very difficult for people to get credit if they had a challenge in the course of their credit life. We need to move quickly and move forward. And so the first step that we did was to ensure that the legal framework that required 7 years retention of negative information is reduced. Now we have a legal framework that says it will remain in the Bureau for 5 years. But you see, it is not that for 5 years you will not be able to access credit. I think that's a misnomer.
Yeah.
What it means is that that information will be available in the Credit Bureau. A Credit Bureau most times use actually just 3 years of information when they are doing predictability tests, using old information to predict future repayment. So the existing, it's just like when you go to any government office and you are told records must be kept for 7 years. It does not mean that if there's an adverse report, you will not get credit for 7 years. I think we have a duty to clarify this to consumers, that retention of that information is to enable anyone who wants to understand what challenges you faced in the past to be able to access it. But the computation of the score does not go back into history, into many years of history.
I guess the reason for this is now this thing, KBA, Central Bank have all come out and saying you should always talk to your bank when you want favorable rates on loans. But then again, I guess the issue of your data working against you is something that people didn't know. So how important is this actually having credit information towards your negotiating ability with banks in terms of sourcing credit at favorable rates?
Yeah, in the past, banks used to look at, we have non-performing loan ratios of this much, and therefore we are going to charge interest rates so high so that we just cover for any risks and any defaults that we have suffered over time, so that we do not lose out on profitability. But now we are changing that and saying nobody should suffer for anyone else's contribution to default. Everybody must be treated fairly, and where you have not had bad record, that should reflect the credit score that the Credit Reference Bureau gives about you. And so if customers can be sensitized to know their credit score, and if the central bank working with the Kenya Bankers Association can publish how the scores are impacting on the interest rate, then we are going to have a more enlightened customer who will be able to say, if my credit score says this, surely why don't you give me a better interest rate?
And during that time, people have also turned to other people like Shylocks or other lenders out there. So how are you going to work as an association to bring confidence back to formal channels, in terms of getting favorable?
Yes, it is actually the priority of government. It's concerned that too many people are going to informal lenders, and that's really putting them at great risk. Because where lenders do not have very formal methods of even debt collection, it becomes very ruthless. The interest rates by informal credit providers are extremely high. And people go to them because they can be able to get a loan quickly. And we appreciate that very often turnaround time is important to somebody who is seeking a loan. And so through the Association of Kenya Credit Providers, we are bringing under one umbrella all credible credit providers, so that people can know who is a credible credit provider, who is using credit information, because for sure anyone who uses credit information when they are making lending decisions will make it faster, will turn around credit much faster. And so through the association, we intend to solve the problem and educate consumers that you do not have to go to informal lenders to be able to get a loan conveniently.
All right, Jared, This morning you're launching a 5-year strategic plan. What's the vision in terms of linking credit information with cheaper credit?
Yes, our 5-year strategic plan recognizes that for us to use credit information to lower interest rates, first we need very many participants. If you just have 43 banks,
it's not a good data set.
It is not a good data set. When you just have 1 year's positive information, it's not a good data set. The reason why having many credit providers into the system is important is because, you know, it's just like having a credit when you go to school and you get your report card, and it only reports about your geography grades.
Your weak subject.
It is your weak subject, and it does not properly reflect who you are. And so we are asking, aren't there people who have lent us money and we have paid it in the past? Maybe you are SACCO, maybe you are microfinance institution, and that information is not in the bureau. We think that it is biased when people are only using a small subset of the information. So our strategic plan is to mobilize as many credit providers as possible to put their data in so that we get a more comprehensive picture. Our numbers are expected to shoot up to more than 700 credit providers in the bureau within the next 5 years.
All right,
that's one of the major expectations.
All right, thank you very much, Jari. That's been Jari Getenga from the Association of Credit Providers, just giving us what it takes to have positive credit information and how that goes into pricing your favorable interest rates. And I hand you over back to Betty Kialo for some interesting news from the Asian continent.